What if the sounds that they hear around them, the word choice and language in the classroom, are void of cultural significance to them? They just don't resonate. They just don't see themselves or hear themselves in the environment. So perhaps we might want to stop talking about learning styles in assigning students to a particular style. I'm Jocelyn Reed, your host, mother, sister, friend, educator, coach, and lifelong learner. A super fan of a mac and cheese loving curious kiddo named Zaire. Let's plant seeds for the future and figure out how to describe and share this wild ride we call life together, one word at a time.
You are listening to Rootwords, the podcast presented by Revolve Learning.
Welcome back, everyone. This is our finale of our Educators Edition episodes for season 1 of the Rootwords podcast. We have a really interesting topic today. We are talking about competence as our word concept. And this made me really think about students and that they just can't be confident in their abilities if they don't truly understand the power of their own brains and bodies. So let's start there. One of our essential core understandings at Revolve Learning is that the brain is malleable. So knowing that the brain is constantly making new connections, creating new neurons, pruning away the unused, a ton in early childhood and in adolescent years, it makes me sort of challenge the idea that some of us are groomed to learn as educators about learning styles. So this may be an unpopular opinion, but I have my reasons, so hang in there with me. I feel there are just too many factors to consider about a child's context. Remember, that's their environments, relationships, and experiences, to actually make sense of doing that sort of labeling process that we've been accustomed to doing. So when I say learning styles, I'm talking about auditory, visual, kinesthetic, reading and writing learners. And early in my career, originally, I was on board with the idea and the understanding and need to focus in on learning styles. So I get it. Again, at one point, it was all the rave. I did it too. And it was just more so that I thought it was important to do to be a good teacher, sort of check all the boxes that my lessons all included those different opportunities, which isn't a bad practice because it made sure that my teaching was all inclusive. So it included all of those elements. But over time, in sitting with the science of learning and development, I just learned how limiting it can be to tell students that they learn best in one way. So how are we building confident kids if they hear in their most developmental years, especially, that they learn best visually, for instance? What if they just haven't come across an auditory style that has struck a chord and resonated with them? What if the sounds that they hear around them, the word choice and language in the classroom, are void of cultural significance to them? They just don't resonate. They just don't see themselves or hear themselves in the environment. So perhaps we might want to stop talking about learning styles in assigning students to a particular style. They just haven't experienced it yet, something that they particularly enjoy. So I think we should honor that and just be more freeing in being considerate of having culturally affirming practices that are actually attuned and responsive to the needs of our kids, especially now. So I say be a student of your students. Enter your classroom with the intention to just have the most relatable experience with your students. Learn what lights them up, what boundaries they are comfortable exploring within. Now, I also have to talk a little bit here about perfectionism, because once you start going down that path, you kind of start wanting to be the perfect, all-inclusive teacher. And honestly, perfectionism is sort of modeling a standard that no one can live up to, including your students. So I also say be a student of your student, but don't show up as you know all the answers all the time. Be honest about your emotions, your feelings when you make mistakes with students. Be a human. Normalize making mistakes and figuring it out, being persistent in front of your students on how they can adjust. It is how you build trust with your students. One of the areas that I always mention when I talk about relational trust, Rick and Snyder did some research, and I talk about this a lot, but one of those areas is high competence. And, obviously that means knowing your stuff. Of course, as parents and teachers, we want the young people around us to see us as knowledgeable and that we have it under control. But there's also something to say for the softer confidence of owning that you are on a journey and what that means. We all screw up. Own that. Another essential understanding that I fully endorse here at Revolve Learning is that educators don't give students potential. They unlock it. You unlock that potential within your students. So when we talk about confidence, you also don't give your students confidence. You help students build it from within. You are just one of the tools that they have in order to reach their goals and unlock what they have within them. So your students are fully capable of being confident in their abilities and who they are. It's usually the adult actions and language around them that changes their minds and makes them believe otherwise. So teaching without considering the context that your students are coming to the table with is like building a house on sand and having the expectation that it will withstand all rising tides and the weather of a hurricane. That just doesn't make sense. But if you think about it as taking the time to build relationships and modeling for your students and building trust, that's more like pushing the plans for building the house back up off the water and onto solid ground. Then that house has a fighting chance to stand strong. I also like to talk about an extension of that is being equitable in that effort and understanding our core essential understanding that we don't give students smarts. We don't make them smarter. We don't give students confidence. We help to build it. So I also often think of we don't build the house without the students' input on their vision for that home, their home being their life. They are the ones that will live in it. They are the ones that will invite people to it. They should be proud of it and the effort and the journey that it took to get it there as a fully built home, as a fully realized, capable, confident life and ability in themselves. So you help to build it, but the vision is all theirs. Something to think about. So I'll leave you this season of our Educator Edition episodes with this sentiment. When I think about our role and the impact on the lives of children, especially children that have experienced a significant amount of adversity, what would it take for us to build kids that are confident in themselves despite their circumstances and surroundings? Often teachers ask me, well, how do I get the best result out of my students academically? And I always ask, well, what do you know about your students? You can't access academic content successfully with students without the relationships. You have to start with them as the content first. Then they will want to learn more from you. The old saying always goes, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So let's throw it back to how we started this season and think a little bit more proactively. What would have to be true about your teaching and effort to be that teacher that students remember so fondly when they are older? Our students will remember this year, 2020, without a doubt. But you have a great opportunity to be that beacon of light that they remember. They will only remember if you actually are that light right now. So, how would your teaching change if you entered with the mindset every day that your legacy is on the line? I had an amazing time recording these episodes. I'm truly looking forward to extending our season a little bit and flipping the script and joining forces with some really great people that have really thought about how our root word selections for this season has impacted their lives, their teaching. And so we're going to be doing some interview shows for a little bit before we start with season 2 with a whole new group of root words. So in the meantime, if this is your first time here, well, welcome. Every single episode is accompanied with our Questions to Connections worksheet. We're helping you to figure out how to have these conversations, to have more meaningful relationships with all kids, whether you have students or you have your own kids or nephews or cousins or whatever. So go ahead and check those out. RevolveLearning.com has everything that you need. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram. We're very active over there at Revolve Learning, and we will see you in the next one.